Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV, where today we're going to be talking about redefining strength and success. So sit on back, scramble some eggs, and hang out with us as we have an amazing show lined up for you. Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. I'm Ryan Morris, co-creator of Wake Up with Giants TV, a tribe of giants and 12 Journeys coaching, alongside here Nick Smith, the author of The Giants and the Smalls and the co-creator of those things as well.
So many things.
So many things. Yes, and hooray, we have Hooray here today with us, and so Nick is going to be introducing our guest. But first, jot down our website, giantsandsmalls.com, and then take the giant quiz. Not now, but do it when the show's over.
Don't do it while we're on live.
I looked for that link. You need to put that link in the comments.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, good idea.
Hey, I'll scroll that across. Hold on, let's see. giantsandsmalls.com.
Take the test. It's not a Scantron. It's not like it's not too complicated.
My gosh, like you just blew people's minds. A Scantron, like that's going way back.
You don't need a number 2 pencil.
You don't understand the 16 personalities. When I did that, because I had one of my friends was way into this, was awesome. But it was like 87 questions back then. Now it's like 10. I'm like, how did that happen? Like,
they peg you really quick.
They're like,
people are like attention span like this.
they're like, we don't care who you are. We're going to tell you who you are. So
that's how good they are these days.
Yeah.
Right. Good morning, Nick. Will you introduce our guest? Let's get this show going.
I would love to. So we're thrilled to welcome a guest whose life story reads like an epic tale of resilience and empowerment. And no, she's not the Viking Queen, but she looks like the Viking Queen. And is it Elsa? Or is that the other one? Yes. Nathalie Herrey, a remarkable individual who has transformed her life's challenges into a crusade for personal growth and empowerment, joins us. Nathalie's journey is nothing short of inspirational. With degrees in psychology and leadership and decades of experience as a corporate consultant, she's worked alongside luminaries like Dean Graziosi, Shetty, and Tony Robbins. Her passion lies in empowering both men and women with the necessary tools and guidance to excel in life. So Nathalie is a firm believer in living life with purpose, joy, and fulfillment. And her philosophy is a beacon for those seeking to find their true calling. She encourages everyone to step into their passion and power, to step into the arena of their lives, and to pick up your crown. Today, she shares her journey and incredible story and insights with us. So let's dive in and welcome Nathalie Herrey to the show. Welcome.
Thank you.
we need the sound effects going. I think I got him.
I see that Jonah Hill gif where he's like,
right.
Oh yeah, I love that one. That was awesome.
There we go. You should play that forever and cut. Right. So Nathalie, we love to highlight your journey to inspire in others the potential they have within themselves. And so we like to explore it all, going all the way back in time to where it all began for you, even exploring development, because it's important for people to see how we create ourselves and think we are something in the world. And then we show up that way. And then we find out that's not really who we are. And we really start to recreate ourselves. Do you have a version of that, a start point you want to begin with?
Yeah. I know I have like a very, sometimes, that's why dating sucks. Cause I can't talk about my life. Cause then it just gets a little bit too much, but I grew up, so I'm from Sweden originally. And I grew up there, and my family, like the 80s was a huge decade for my family. My dad is an Olympic athlete, been in several of them, as well as world championships, tons of medals, all that stuff. And he took a a medal at the Olympics in Los Angeles in '84. Right before then, my uncles won the largest singing competition in the world with over 1 billion viewers. It's not big here, but the rest of the world just, rides and dies by it. It's called Eurovision. They made a movie about it. It's pretty fun, actually. It took me a while before I watched it, but then one of my friends said, you should watch it. And because that's my whole childhood, So I'm like, I didn't know. And it's comedians. So I didn't know if they were going to just make it look super silly, because it's a fun affair. But yeah, but they did a great job. It was super fun. But yeah, I definitely grew up in a family with 8 personalities. But obviously a lot of drama comes with that. You learn lessons like, money doesn't make you happy. If you don't have it together before you get money, well, it's just going to be a lot of drama and sadness, on top of it. So I think
Kardashians.
Say that again.
That's what I just pictured as the Kardashians. Like,
right. Yeah. Well,
better get your shit together.
That's almost a political discussion these days,
Yeah,
So
right.
I'll just
maybe I'll be careful and tiptoe around that one.
Right. Well, I actually like, if you knew my family, I'm like, I would love to be part of that family, because they actually like support each other and like hold each other's back. And the mom has like filmed every event in their life, and like, so if you ever watch the series,
I might have to backtrack on my words then.
I know. People like it, but if you watch, anyways, we talk about that a lot. I have a college daughter.
Yeah.
So we talk about that a lot, and if anything else, like, they're pretty bad, but like, we've watched the series, so we're fans.
Awesome.
But yeah, so that's kind of where I was, but it did cause, I think the major problem for me was that it caused a lot of problems in like romantic relationships, for sure. I kind of got lost in that whole identity of my family instead. Which made it very difficult. And then when it started falling apart just about everywhere, it was really hard to figure out what my identity was going to be like. And something I realized that after watching everything that happened is that, you have to get back to a space where you can find that voice that tells you that no matter what happens in your life, you matter. And I think, with the whole enough movement, which I think should be you're amazing or fantastic instead, like, who wants to be enough? Because we're all amazing.
Yeah.
You just made the cut.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm enough. I'm like,
it was teetering.
I hope you don't wake up in the morning and like, I'm enough. I'm like, no, you should wake up and be like, I'm amazing.
Yeah.
I got purpose. But I think, that, and again,
that's funny. Like, wake up and you're like, I'm okay. I'm moderately good at life,
well,
Yeah, nobody wants that.
No, and it's interesting too, like, surprisingly too many people kind of wake up like that. And even worse, they're like, I'm kind of crap until I have my coffee. Like, that's sad to me.
Right. Man, the power of coffie. It's incredible.
Right. It's like a whole other political lifestyle these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I think that's what saved me a lot. Just I somehow just had this innate, and I think my grandparents had a lot to do with that. I think they were the ones that gave me kind of that unconditional love, and especially my paternal ones, they gave me a stability and pretty chaotic family life. Not bad, but it was just a lot of people. We had babysitters, like, you got bullied in Sweden because people were jealous and they thought we had servants at home. I mean, it was a whole huge thing. So I think that was a big thing for me. But just going back to just having a sure knowledge that I am someone, that I matter no matter what happens in my life. I think that's a big takeaway.
I mean, we follow a framework. So we have what we call the 12 journeys framework, and we look at the non-conscious journey as the primary journey, because it's our identity. It's what gets automated. It's who we think we are. And a lot of that stems from culture. It stems from family. It stems from society. It stems from our own experiences. And we automate that and it goes unconscious and we think that's us. And then you have this awakening moment where you decide, no, there's got to be something different in me. and you start to challenge some of those things that you believed growing up. And this may not be the case for everybody. Some people had just incredible upbringings, actually absolutely no trauma, right? And others have had extreme amounts of trauma in their development. And in both cases, like there's this awakening moment where the person decides they're going to be something for themselves, independent of everything they've ever been taught, you know?
Right.
And so when you decided or discovered or awakened to, right, your greatness, how did you talk to yourself? I mean, were you pretty gentle with yourself? Did you navigate that pretty smoothly? Were you hard on yourself? Like what was your process for really waking up to your potential?
So I don't, like I said before, I don't know if it's luck. I'm not really sure what it is. If it's my, I walked away with my faith base in the correct way. But just the fact of having that, that foundation helped so much to be able to navigate. And I think just having faith that, okay, so I'll go back. I got the opportunity to see Jordan Peterson a couple of weeks ago at a small private event here in Salt Lake City. It was fantastic. Like 5 hours with him was just, I mean, yeah, it was amazing. But, you know, it was interesting because I always have the saying that life is never boring. It might not be the boring that we wish it was, but it's never boring.
Yeah.
And my mentor doesn't like that too much. She wants me to change that. But then Jordan Peterson, who is very vocal on how hard life is, he said, we are made for this adventure. And he said, if you don't believe me, he said, just look at the movies we go watch. Do you go watch 3 hours of people eating a buffet or 3 hours of someone? We all think we want to lay on a beach somewhere, right?
Yeah.
That's the dream.
It would be an awesome reality show, like
right?
The local buffet.
Yeah.
Oh, there he goes again. Round two.
Like, how
In
fun
for
is
the
that
mac
3
and
hour movie
cheese.
going to be watching someone laying on the beach, right? Or
Right.
what was the last one? Laying on the beach, eating food. Oh, shopping. That's another great one, right? 3 hours of that. Like, nobody's going to watch that movie. What kind of movies do we go watch?
Action, adventure, challenge, overcoming, right?
Right.
Triumph,
That's
right?
Exactly. We go watch people overcome stuff because we love that, because it's so ingrained in us.
Yeah.
So it can sound harsh, but I think I realized really quickly that we are made for this adventure.
Yeah.
And if I can just, that doesn't mean that some things are shockingly painful or that it's been hard, but it definitely helps you navigate the challenges in a different way than.
I'm going to make the plug right now. Is we reached out to Jordan Peterson to have him on the show, and he said no, but we're not done with him yet. So he doesn't know that yet, but he will be on the show.
Yeah.
As a declaration here.
Yeah.
But just an incredible dude, because he does highlight the reality of reality, you know, that it is a struggle, and he talks about his struggles, and he's very open about it. And some people really have a hard time hearing it because they don't want him to be as open as he is with it.
Right.
And I think it's challenging even in life. A lot of us want to see the positive side, but we don't want to hear the challenge so much. And there is a challenge, and we are designed for it, right? Like, we're equipped to handle everything. How incredible that the body can do what it can do, right? Go ahead.
The human spirit, you know, it's amazing. Like, I watch, so one thing I watch a lot, speaking of having great parents. So there's a guy, and his name is Mark, grew up with stable home, incredible parents, you know, no problems, but he has dedicated his life to just showing like the facets of life. So he has a YouTube channel is called Soft White Underbelly. Oh, the interviews. I mean, this is so I wouldn't compete with you guys. He does interviews with people from these walks of life that we never get an insight to otherwise.
Oh, yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's amazing to watch. And even if their life is not like mine, or I haven't been through quite as horrible things as they have, or they've been through different kind of horrible things or whatnot, I still always walk away with the power of the human spirit And also there are always nuggets in there that fill my soul and how, change my heart every single time to hear these people. It's amazing.
We all have it. Like I believe that we could bring anybody on this show and pull nuggets from them. Wisdom, and it's amazing, how indomitable the human spirit is. It's just, we have this power to keep going even when it's challenging. And maybe we'll talk about that through here is, finding that strength. It's not that you go out and find it, you find it within, because it was already in there. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we try and demonstrate to people, is that there's no outward journey. It's an inward journey that gets expressed outwardly, but you don't go somewhere to find yourself.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
So when we wake up to that, people can look at their lives and they can think, man, my life really isn't my ideal right now. This isn't what I had in mind. It's sad. They grieve it, right? They feel the heaviness of it. They judge it. They shame themselves for it. And no amount of shaming in the history of shaming has healed somebody that I'm aware of, I mean, are you, or
no,
are you
I'm
aware
not.
of anybody?
I'm not familiar with that. I remember I served for my church for 18 months, which gives away which religion I'm part of. But as something in the scriptures talk a lot about like damned, right? But I use that instead of, how you have like the Hoover Dam, right? What does a dam do?
It stops.
It stops the water.
Yeah.
So when we do that to ourselves, when we use things like shame and things, we damn ourselves. Like, what I'm meaning by that is that we put a stop to our progression.
Yeah.
Don't worry so much about life being crappy right now, or life not looking like you wanted to. Just look at any of these people that we look up to. Many times they've lost everything. They've been in bankruptcy. They've divorced, like, tons of issues that have happened. We only get to see like this really glitzy thing, and if you just like see it as a river, like you're going to pass through that. As long as you don't put a dam on yourself, as long as you don't stop your progression, but you just like, okay, I'm just kind of on this roller coaster, right? I don't like this turn right now, but I'm just going to go with it because I know I'm going to be happy somewhere along the way.
Yeah, I like that. Just keeping the flow going. I sent Ryan a video yesterday on TikTok of the, just rolling with the flow. And then it has this guy kayaking upstream on this torrent of a river. And he's like, this is the flow. It's like, sometimes the flow feels like that, just like coming at you.
Right. Yeah.
But it is about flowing and learning that you are equipped to handle it. And I kind of want to hang on to that theme for this show a little bit, is we are equipped. I love the analogy. Lao Tzu says that 1,000 forests spring from a single acorn, and the acorn is already programmed with those forests in there. But it didn't have to go find itself for that to express. It just had to express itself. Right.
Right.
And we are that. And we get into this idea, I've got to go on some adventure, or, going back to the movies, I've got to go on this journey to find myself. And then every time somebody goes to find themselves out there, they discover that it was already within them. Right. And I think to give ourselves some grace for the experiences that we do have, that we go through some heavy stuff.
Yeah. I was thinking of The Alchemist and, books like that.
Yeah. So tell me a thought from that. What came up as you thought of that?
Well, just, how he goes on this whole adventure, and then, really the treasure is back home.
Yeah.
In the end. And it's great. We can discover the world and learn a lot, but I actually I know this sounds like a weird segue, but I was at Tony Robbins event, which is why I sound like this. I mean, I have pretty deep voice normally, but now it's totally rock star. But I definitely got the Tony flu and all this stuff. But they talked about that, about, how love, we are different in that regard. Our evolutionary is different in the regard that we can't survive without somebody's love. So somebody has to love us enough to set aside some of themselves. So even if you had crappy parents at some point, because you are still here and survived, at some point somebody must have given you food, some kind of, hygiene, something like that, because you are here still, even if they're not the parents that you would have liked them to be, or whatnot. But and he said that's how we continue on. We always live in this fear that we are not enough, because if we're not enough, then nobody's going to come for us, right? Because somebody needs to love us.
Yeah.
And I always like to kind of figure out where quotes come from, how you have to learn to love yourself. And I'm like, why do we have to learn to love ourselves?
Yeah.
Because it's such a primary function of our belief of survival and of our survival, that if we can just put that love into ourselves, then we know we will survive, and we will stop living like we are going to die if we don't have a partner, or if everything doesn't come our way. Like, we won't be tossed so much in life if we can just see that I love myself with that innate primary need.
Let's play with that, because
Yeah.
I think of T. Harv Eker. He said, no one was, I think it was him. No, it was Nathaniel Branden. No one is coming to rescue you. No one is coming. Right.
Oh, Ed Milet, like, name anyone. Tony
Robbins.
Yeah,
right.
Everybody tells you that.
So this idea that no one is coming, which could sound really disheartening, and it's the Munchausen effect, right? Where he was drowning in the pond and he's screaming for help and nobody's coming, and his horse is sinking, and he grabs himself by the ponytail and lifts himself out of the water onto the shore, right? And it's goofy, but the idea is that the power was there to rescue himself, and we all have that. But it starts with this fundamental thing called self-love. And there's this thing also in our culture that says, don't be selfish. Don't be self-centered. Don't think of you, right? How do you battle that? How do you challenge that with this concept of you need to love yourself first, but you're also taught at the same time, paradoxically, to not love yourself?
Right.
Can you hear that?
Yeah. So I'm a single mom. Like, I'm a real single mom, not the kind where, I'm a single parent. No, you're not. You're a co-parent. You're just not married or together,
Right.
And like, I'm a single parent, and I don't have family to help out, really. And so for me, it's very important to have an even energy. I need to be very focused on, so I have to be very focused on self-care and self-love. I have to make sure I get enough sleep. I have to make sure that the energy that we keep around us and around myself is a good one, because things like that, or, eating or whatever, because things like that are going to affect my children, and I'm the only one that they have in their life.
Right.
So if I'm constantly up and down because I'm tired, or, something bad happened and I can't control myself in reaction to that, and I take it out on them, they're always going to end up in the fire. So for me, it's not selfish. You can't function correctly for other people and be your best self. Like, I can't serve my clients if I can't handle my own life.
Right.
I can't be the best for them. I can't have the energy for them if I don't take care of myself first. And I don't think that's and I don't know. Selfish, I think, is if you have created a life, and then, like, for me, it would be because my children are my wife and my life. But for me, it would be if I created these children and then I just, like, take off and I go partying every weekend, and I think that they're horrible and they're just a weight around my neck and all that stuff. That would be selfish to me, to talk like that, to treat them like they're a nuisance, like they chose to come here. So
you wouldn't have room to love anybody outside of yourself, would be what you're talking about there.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's not loving yourself. That is being selfish. I think loving yourself is self-care, and finding, rooting yourself in yourself so that you can be there for the other people in your life that need you.
I think that's valuable right there, because it's like there's so much power in self-care, right? In us, it's a journey of nurture, where you're really looking after what you need, and then anything that you're creating in your world, you're giving that the attention and nurture it needs. but recognizing that, oh, I maybe need some sleep, or I'm hanging around people that are really sapping my energy and not really going in the direction I want to go. And it's not that they're bad people, it's just it doesn't align. Right. So self-care is more about paying attention to what aligns with your values, your morals, ethics, right? Attitudes, beliefs, and the ones you're trying to teach your kids as well, right?
Yeah. And there
So,
was a Facebook user there that said, what was the question? It was, can you love? Yeah, exactly. Can I authentically love others without being full of love for myself? Oh, absolutely. I
yeah,
believe so. I think, the expression is we will always do more for others than we will do for ourselves. And I think as part of the journey, if we at least our intention is to love, if we are able to love, I mean, we know plenty of those people, right? They're the first ones, give you dinner when you're sick, show up and help out, right? But then they go home and they have depression problems or things like that. I think expressing love is always going to be a gift. You're never going to lose out on that. But I think that self-awareness is a huge gold nugget to have in life, and that we also have to, in that giving love, like kind of, okay, so in showing love to others, like how can I translate that into myself so I don't feel like, so I can feel like they do when I'm serving them.
yeah. I pulled up that there's a scripture that says, love God, with heart, mind, and soul. Says three things. And then it says, love your neighbor as thyself. Right. Which
See,
indicates,
who taught self-love?
right. Which
Right?
indicates we need to love ourselves and our neighbors, right? As thyself is what it says. Not more than yourself, not that. It says as,
Yeah,
which puts it on an equal plane. And so there are people that give more to their neighbors than they do to themselves. And it's got to be okay to give yourself self-love. That's where you're nurtured and you can really express, right?
right.
And I think even in relationship, you think about that is if you've got a partner that needs they've got to have your love more than their own or whatever, then it becomes this neediness thing, and it just saps the energy. I remember we went to Mexico, and there was a tree, and it was empty in the middle. It was a viney looking tree. And I was like, wow, that is a crazy looking tree. And the guide was telling us about this tree, that there was a tree in the middle at one point, but this outer tree grew around the old tree and consumed it completely. So now there's this hollow shell in the middle, and the
Oh yeah,
old tree is completely gone. And I
yeah,
think that's what we sometimes do is we get into a relationship, we suck that person dry to where there's nothing left, but
yeah.
we survived by, being almost parasitic. I don't know if that makes sense, but
No,
yeah,
it does. We call those people in those are kind of the unicorns in life,
yeah,
right? So those are the people who so that's the tree in the middle, right? That's
yeah,
getting sapped. So they are the ones who give everything. They're the ones who love. They are the ones,
yeah,
that understand, that support and lift others. And then their light burns out, usually quite fast, when like 5 to 7 years of them being on kind of that crusade. And then we
yeah,
lose them, and they're like this huge gift, and they commit suicide, or they don't make it. And yeah,
yeah,
it's just watch the world right now. If you don't believe that it's important to understand the need of self-love and self-care to be able to continue to be there for others, then just watch what people are doing nowadays.
yeah.
Like
I,
that
I
social media in the wrong way has become that outside tree that just saps people up. Good people, they just get torn apart
yeah,
by trolls, or things like that. So
yeah. And
yeah,
so when you recognize, I mean, this is where we have a friend, Amy Bingham, who talks about detaching the cords from your life that that have been attached from others, and energetically they may sap your energy. And
yeah,
when you have self-love, you start to recognize your energy flows out, and you start to detach any cords that are no longer serving, right?
right.
And so that self-love, that self-care allows you to do the work you're equipped to do. I think it really allows people to step into their power, because when you can have self-love, then like it says, you can express it to others. And it's not that you're more than them or they're more than you. It's just you're equals. But when you recognize your value as much as their value, then you start taking care of your needs, and then you don't put that responsibility on other people. Right.
Right.
And then that makes it an equal give and take. I think of like sharks and those little sucker fish that go around with them. Like
Right.
it's a beneficial relationship.
Right.
Right. But it's mutually beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And that's how relationships should be. Right.
Yeah. And I think also something important to remember too is that, when I came over here 6 years ago, I had come out of a protected domestic violence home in Sweden. So I got straight on a plane. I finally got, we unfortunately had a president that changed all the rights for expats. And I didn't know that. So it was really hard to come back with my youngest children. I actually lost my older children because they were ready to move back over here. And yeah, it was very difficult. But anyway, so I came over here with that whole, story with, 2 suitcases and 2 small children in tow and nothing. And I think you have to be, so for me, I knew then that it was very important. So the expression is, don't get into the well to rescue someone else unless you have a means to get out. And I was glad that I learned that, because I could then be honest with people who came to me in situations that I did not have the means to crawl out of that well if I climbed in with them. And that it was better I instead of, taking us both down or not being able to serve them as I would have liked to in their time of need, it was better that I sent them to someone else, so that they could be beneficial for them when they finally asked for help or realized that they needed help, just because I wasn't in a place where I could help them because I didn't have that energy yet. But like my cup was so empty. And that's another thing too, to realize if your cup isn't filled up, to not go out and try and help people just because you're not the only one. We are a village. We have to realize that, if we see someone in need, well, if you can't help, then ask someone else to do it, or reach out to your church or whatever that is and see if others can help. Like, don't always. So that goes into, again, the whole, like, can I love people authentically? Don't serve when you're empty. You have to look at that balance all the time. Otherwise, you'll just be that unicorn that burn out.
Ryan, I'm wondering what your thoughts are here, like, as you listen to that.
No, I agree that I was that type though. Like I was the one that give, and then when I needed it, I didn't even, not that I wasn't equipped enough to ask for help. I wouldn't ask for help. And so then I was like, well, where is everybody? I've done all this stuff and helped everybody else. Well, what about me when I need it? But I didn't even tell anybody that I needed the help too. It's just such a crazy thing, but
which is part of the challenge, right?
There's so many people that are bitter because of that mindset. Exactly.
Yeah, and then they get bitter. Yeah.
Really.
And once I realized, like, I'm like, okay, I can still be me. I can still serve and I can still love and I can still help people. But I set up some boundaries, and if I couldn't do it, or it was gonna be a problem for me, then I would say, I learned to say no. It wasn't that I didn't love the people. It was that it didn't work for me. And before, I would try to make it work because I felt shamed or guilty or whatever, needed some sort of sense of worth. I don't know what I was doing sometimes.
We don't. None of us do. It's okay. It's a touch and go.
Yeah.
It's part of the adventure.
This is a touch and go sometimes.
Yeah.
But it took time and practice to learn that, because I would burn out. I really would. It would crash and burn, and then get mad, and then, oh, I'm not doing that again. And then sure enough, there I was again doing it. So I had to work on boundaries and recharging, and doing some of the things that made me happy, and and learn to speak up, learn to say, hey, I'm not okay. I need some help. When I needed it. And that's still a practice for me. Still working on that stuff. But
Yeah.
you're right. It can becomes that point where you feel like you're just a hollow shell and there's nothing left, and you could get pretty bitter in that scenario.
Yeah. And
When really some of the cause of that is probably you.
yeah, sucks, huh? Ah,
Yeah.
it's no fun. But it's hard too when it's your family, for example. Then it becomes, because you talked about getting those strings off, right? And then you talk
Yeah.
about stretching yourself. A lot of times, it can be family that string is so difficult to cut off. Like it's so hard. That's like you're born with that. And then boundaries with the family who use all sorts of manipulation, gaslighting tactics on you, like
Yeah. Yeah.
it can get
Yeah.
very difficult. You have to become very firm, and that's where that self-love and just like kind of the peace in yourself becomes so important, so that you can stick by that. My mom, in the few moments, because she's so Swedish, and we don't say love you, like it's so awkward,
Yeah.
because I'm so much more American, or that's why I love it.
Yeah.
But like we'll hang up the phone and we don't say love you at the end, and it's so weird. Okay, bye. Like it's
Yeah. Yeah.
so funny. But even she doesn't really give compliments, but even she's like, I've never met anyone who can overcome hard things like you do and
Yeah.
stand up again, or be able to ask for help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see some patterning here, as we look at, and I tend to look at the world, yes, through the 12 journeys framework, because it gives a framework that you can follow to see where you're at in your journey, right? And then do your work there. And that's why we call them journeys, not steps. They're not steps.
I like
Because
that.
they're all individual, and they can be a combination of things. You might be working on 2 journeys at once, in different areas, one on growth and one on your inner world.
Right.
But recognizing that, most of what we've talked about right now is in that inner world. Is when you have that self-love and you're taking care of this inner world, then your outer world tends to take care of itself as an expression of what's going on in here, because you show up more powerfully. You show up more in line with your visions and purposes. But also we see that like nurture is part of the growth journey, because nurture is where you take care of yourself and you give yourself what you need to continue to grow, to increase your capacity. Right.
Right.
But a lot of this, there was a comment there, Ryan, on
Yeah.
the,
I was wondering about that one.
yeah, the expectations. I don't know if you saw that one, or
No.
which one are you looking at? This is one here, is giving, offering.
Yeah, I had put it up already. Sorry.
Yeah.
There was a
And,
longer one.
Yeah. Let's go back to that too.
One.
Yeah.
Okay. I can only receive more love after I'm giving enough away to create space for it. It's kind of like a full cup. I won't hold it anymore until some up. Yeah, exactly. Right. That's kind of like karma, the karma thing, like that, the full cup. Like, we pour our full cup over the fence, and so somebody else can pour our and then like it just goes around a circle, and then that full cup comes around to us.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's the important part. When we have filled our cup, like we definitely need to, whether you look at it as a snowstorm or as a filled cup, like you need to shovel it out or you need to pour it onto next, so that it can kind of trickle back into you again,
Yeah.
because not that's different. Like that kind of stuff doesn't grow or multiply or come back as the universe intended unless we like give it forward so it can come back to us.
Well, I think the idea of giving without expectation, or giving without obligation too. Like, I think there's some pressure where we give because we feel obligated to give. And like you said earlier, there are times I'm not equipped to climb in the well with you.
Yeah.
And so, but some people jump in the well out of obligation.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're not even in a position to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then you're both drowning instead.
Yes. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
It's not a good place. I was talking to one of my friends. He's low energy person. It's hard. I don't know if you think about that, but it's hard when you're in the sphere, right? Because we all kind of have that mindset, and we're pretty self-aware, and we kind of work on it every day, and like all this stuff. But that's why it's good. I've told some people, that it's good if you go out into like regular groups, like maybe singles group on Facebook and stuff like that, and see how like the other people think, because it's very, very different. It's not like that. And one of my friends, he has that low energy, and I said to him, I think you got out of what you needed for this time. You came to me for some advice and things like that. And I said, I'll talk to you again probably in 6 months or so, right? When it comes around to, and, and I just said, because the problem is if you come to me, I'm like a Marine. I leave no one behind. Right. So I'm not going to allow you to continue in a state where you get dopamines from telling yourself you are no one and nothing and you deserve no other life than what you have. That's not acceptable to me. So if you step in my sphere, you are going to have to grow a different mindset. And I'm happy to help you with that. But if you don't want to, and that's fine too, if you want to live in that state, because a lot of people get a dopamine high from living in low energy. It serves them,
Yeah. And even talking about the low energy is a dopamine hit.
Oh, right? Yeah. And I just like, I can't be there. So you need to be ready to step up, or, this continual, like then you will be okay with your life. And then you come and find me again when you need me. But I will not cater to that kind of mentality or that kind of energy. I just can't, because it just drains me out. So
I had a guy that would come into my office and he would dump all his information on me. I'd become a dumping station, right? He'd feel good and walk out of the room, right? And I'd be like, what the hell, dude? I'm not a dumping station. So I said something about it. I said, look, I'm not going to be that for you. Now, if you want to work on it, we'll work on it, but I'm not going to be a space where you just come in and drop your stuff and then leave. That's not going to work. He didn't like that, because his like, it makes sense now, that dopamine hit was expressing that, right? That felt good to just get that off the plate, but never wanted to do anything with it. Just wanted to get the dopamine high, right?
Do you know Simon
I'm the
Sinek?
wrong space for that. Yeah, Simon Sinek. Yeah.
So that was a huge problem in his company.
Yeah.
So he had a lot of people that quit, like really good people, and they couldn't figure out why. And it was because they became the dumpers. Like they become the people that people dumped on.
Yeah.
And they couldn't handle it. So, and that, he says, that's a big problem actually in the workforce these days with the new millennial generation and whatnot, is that they don't ask for permission. Hey, is it okay if like I talk to you about this for a bit? They just come in and dump. And you have all your other responsibilities and energy that you need for that. And they just come in and dump. And yes, that is something that's new now, that corporate and stuff are facing as a big problem, that are draining. So you are not alone in that.
Yeah. Well, and to recognize, I think this goes back to the tree analogy, is to recognize when something is taking your energy. I think, in terms of biblical terms, Christ, when the lady touched his clothes, he felt the energy shift, right? Like he immediately was so in tune with his energy that he immediately felt that it had been taken from him. He said, who touched me? Right? Stopped and said, who? So that type of awareness in our lives of what's taking my energy, right? Is what we're trying to get to, is when we are so in tune with ourselves, we recognize the things that are taking the energy from us, and we don't allow it, or we address it, right?
Yeah.
And then we pull back our power. I think it's really important that people see that. Like, you might be a good listener, but you might be a good listener for somebody else's dopamine high.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. I always say, and I like that I always say, when you're going to dump something, do it with a purpose, because otherwise you just bleed. It's kind of like with people on social media, right?
Yeah.
I mean, oh, something out to a couple of thousand people, like, and then they just keep going, and you're like, this is so draining. Like, I can't watch this. I say, if you're gonna dump something, like, and I talk to my kids about that too, like, it needs to be for a purpose. Like, you want to like get the pus out so you can heal the wound.
Express it, right?
Yeah. If you just want to touch the scab all the time, like, what's the point with that? Like, I don't understand. That is painful, and like then it gets even more affected, and it's just, and you start feeling you're actually feeding the shame, because now you're continuously exposing you to people that don't really care for you. Or don't, like, they're just like, what's going on with you? Instead of finding a tribe or a mentor or a therapist or really close friends that you can talk to and do that with, so that you can actually get the stuff out and start healing from it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. That is empowering. If you want to empower yourself, find a small tribe where you dump yourself. Don't dump it everywhere, because it'll just feed that shame and feeling like you're a failure and people look at you weird and all that stuff. Don't do that. Like, walk in power, you know, and share it in with the right people.
So the word trauma means the turning of the wound, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it can never heal because it keeps getting turned or twisted or picked at, right?
Yeah.
And that expression of it, Edith Eger talks about expression being the opposite of depression. It actually, expression is the healing of things like that. And so that being able to express it, and I see the comments here on Jesus. I get that. I understand that. I'm also using this in the context of, you know, watching your energy, being so self-aware of your energy that you know when it's taken or given, right? That you're the one that controls that. So don't hear me like I'm trying to attack Jesus for, you know, having his energy sapped. That's not what I'm doing.
Oh, no.
So no, and I see that in the comments. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't see those comments. I'm surprised that people put that up. No, because I always see all this work I find straight aligned with the gospel. I mean,
well, and we try and stay pretty neutral around that because we have so many different backgrounds here.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like, but as an example, you know, that's one that people are pretty familiar with. That's a story that's pretty familiar.
Yeah. And
so,
I love it.
I think the idea, like you're saying, is find your tribe, find your people, find your therapist, find your coach, find that person that you can not dump with, but actually do your work with. Right.
Yeah.
And I like that. I think that's really important.
Because you want to spend your energy in appreciation and gratitude instead.
Yeah.
Like, you know, isn't it funny? Like, you have one person who works as the mail carrier and they can't stand their job. They think it's stupid. The hours are awful. The weather sucks. But then you have the other person who, luckily for us, has found their purpose in that, who loves being able to know that they can bring anything from happy packages or things that connect other people or help them not destroy their credit because he delivered that bill, you know, and all that stuff. And we are lucky but that's the shift though in mindset, that one can find their purpose in something so minute. You might think as giving me fries at McDonald's, but I'm grateful for them.
Yeah.
or delivering our mail, or, you know, I somebody else made a comment. I said, Walmart. I said, because my daughter, we went there pretty late, and she's like, I can't believe people are working here this late. And I said, yeah, but aren't we so lucky that they are, so that we can get this whipped cream that you wanted, you know, and all the other stuff.
That's it. Ryan, you remember the mailman that would come in every day at the dealership? And that reminds me of him, you know.
He loved
happy.
It. Oh yeah. Like whistle and like waltz on in, like
always comes to see the dog at the dealership and make sure the dog gets a treat, and like just super nice guy. And that was his purpose right there, you know.
Right. And I think, funny enough, like that's probably one of the best compliments of one of my friends. Is years ago, but and then my daughter kind of reiterated when she started going out with me, and I think that as probably one of the best compliments. But he kind of said it in disgust. He's like, people are always so nice to you. It's like, always so nice to you. And I told him about something. He's like, I bet it was a guy that was helping him. I said, no, it's a woman. He's like, everybody's so nice to you. And then his guy goes, yeah, because she's nice. but I just always walk in like service people. I think they deserve all the accolades in the world. I love Brene Brown. She's like, don't go outside if you can't be nice to service people. Like, just stay home that day, for serious. Like, and I just walk in with an energy of that they have value, they have worth, they are an amazing human being just for being born, and they deserve my positive energy and my positive attitude, and it definitely pays off. Like, obviously, since even my daughter now is out, she's like, Mom, you always make people laugh and make them happy. And I'm like, oh, thank you. I'm so glad. Like that's what she sees when she's out. I mean, you know, that really means a lot. And I believe that the energy that you put back, if you just stick to it, because I know some people are like, oh my gosh, but if you stick to it and you actually believe that, it comes back to you.
Well, the tree produces the fruit that's engineered into it, right? It's essentially you are producing in the world what's inside of you. and who you are at your interior. And so it's like, if people want to see more kindness in the world, start being kind,
Yeah.
start being that, and then it will express from you. Yeah, I just think it really circles back to when you recognize who you are and your power. And I think of the title here, how you redefine strength and success. It's really, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but self-love. Like
Oh,
when you know who you are, then you can be more of that around the world to everybody that's in your world.
yeah. Because there's so much energy being like sad and depressed, or spending time in your low energy is so consuming. Like I remember one of my friends, he's like, another friend, I associate easier with guys. I grew up with 4 brothers, so man, it's easier for me to be around. But he said, he's like, with your life, how come you don't drink? And I said, oh my gosh, if it solved any problems, I'd be like bottling the bottom out like all the time. Trust me. But I'm like, I would have to deal with the aftermath of all of that. And I'm just like, no. So trust me, if I found something that could actually work with no consequences to my life, and my uncle died as an alcoholic. My dad is probably addicted to just about everything on the planet. And he has money to do it, so it works for him. But yeah, I just it's too much energy. I find it's life flows, and trust me, I have my trials more. I mean, I have trials, for big trials, and so it's easy for people when they see that to think, because you stand up so easily again, that everything is fine. Like someone, oh, you have it. It seems like you have everything figured out all the time. That's why like it didn't even hit me like. And I said, yeah, because I can't give that focus. That's not where my energy is going to go. I don't want to be in that life. So I'm going to try and walk out of it as fast as I can.
I like that last comment there. The, just because we've done it a certain way doesn't mean we have to keep doing it.
Right.
Yeah. It's that sunk cost fallacy. And sometimes we sink into that where, well, we've done it for years. Why not just keep going? And it's like, no, why not just stop and look at it and see if it's working,
Yeah. There was a comment on Facebook. I don't, but yeah, I think there's some like old generational thoughts of, the need to, like you said, to stay the same. But I think the one grace of now is that we're realizing we're tired of kind of carrying generational pains. And we're just kind of, life is hard, right? And we're like, how do we figure out the formula to still finding joy and happiness in all the hard? Because that's what we really want, and to find love. And I think, I think these days we should just totally embrace that we are going to change all the time and be okay with that. Even promises. I loved actually that Tony brought that up, because as a parent, oh my gosh, the guilt, especially the mom guilt. But he said, that in life you have to understand that even promises can't be kept sometimes. Like life change, like things happen, and people have to understand that even when you sometimes make a promise, if your intent is the very best, that sometimes even you have to break that promise, and to be merciful and gentle with each other. What was that comment? Find the abundance at others.
Where others maybe gave up, go a little further.
Yeah.
Because I like that idea. Ryan, what thoughts are you having around this?
So I was thinking about like, I guess it's probably natural to reflect on your own life. So I'm not trying to make it all about me, but that's what I know. So
It's perfect.
I was sitting here thinking about my progression, because we talked about at the beginning of like no boundaries and just give, and all this. And as I learned to love myself and then set up those boundaries, um, it's interesting because and I'm not perfect at it by any means. You could ask my wife and my kids, but I've been able to now put the energy back to where it belongs. Meaning, if somebody comes at me with negative energy, it's easier for me than it used to be, because I practiced it, to go, that's not mine. That's yours. Here you go. You take that right back over there, and that's yours. Here you go. And what's true for me? This is my energy, and I'm gonna watch guard my energy. And that doesn't mean you can't give. That doesn't mean you can't be, go out and serve and do things. You like guarding that energy, finding out the real power is right in here and taking responsibility for you, because then when somebody else comes at you with energy, you can see that's not my responsibility, that's their responsibility. And oh my gosh, and you can still love them even if it's hateful or strong energy coming at you. Like, hey, you know what, thank you, but no thank you. And you can talk like that, almost have like that inner dialogue. That's not mine. It's okay. And you might be shook a little bit still by somebody's super strong energy,
Yeah.
but then you can refocus and regroup and come back
I
at
love
it
how
again.
Ryan talks about my strong, intense energy.
Hey, listen, like
If you could handle me for 4.5 years, dude, you are a saint, man.
well,
I
well,
love it.
Natalie, they used to call me they made me a shirt that said the Muffin Man, because like
Yeah.
there's this energy, like, because I'm typically pretty passive. I'm more of a lover than a fighter type of a personality.
That's good.
Because I just, I always see the best in everybody. And I
Yeah.
don't want anybody to hurt. But then somebody comes at me, and then I'm like, and I'll take it. And then it's like, well, how can I like make your rims and tires disappear? Like, like I'm gonna like do something passive aggressively. And I started to realize that about myself, and they started calling me the Muffin Man. And there's a whole thing, there's a whole video about it. But um, I've been that Muffin Man that's not good. That's passive aggressive or spiteful, little hateful. But it
But who
wasn't
doesn't
it.
want to slash a couple of tires sometimes,
Right. I
right?
mean, like it goes through my mind still now.
Yeah.
But then I'm like,
But
that's the
you know,
Muffin Man.
you know how we can turn that around?
Hmm.
That mindset. The fact that you have it in you, that you could actually do something a bit monstrosities wise, and you
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
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 And
That
that's what
that
I've learned is like,
exactly.
look,
That's a cool
I could do those things, but I have more self-control and strength, right? Redefining the strength, that
yeah.
I realize that's a dark side of me. It
Yeah.
really is.
And we all have it, right? Like
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Philip
probably all
Zimbardo's
have some
work, we
versions of that.
all
Yeah.
have darkness within us and we all have
Yeah.
that ability, right?
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
does speak to your strength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
And then
sure.
I've just learned to harness it and then go, okay, that's not my energy. That's yours. And um, put it back to them, and
Isn't
then
that nice?
regroup.
Isn't that so
It's
nice?
freeing. It's it's
Yeah.
it's empowering.
Yeah. Because you don't have to sit with their, like, it's like somebody gave you like an infection to your body when you decide to sit with it. And what I do, so we call, again, I talk about that a lot, but I'm a very pictorial person. So I'll have my daughter, I have my other friends, I have one in London and one in Sweden. So if they're sleeping, like, I'll call my daughter, and again, I ask for permission before I dump on her. But I said, I just need to do get the pus out phone call. This is all this is. So I
Mm.
just get the pus out, right? Because it might have been something that happened. I feel a bit icky, and she'll do the same to me. And we actually joked about that the other
With
day.
permission though, right? Like you're
With
doing it
permission,
with
yeah.
permission. I like
No, I
that.
tell her
Yeah.
first. I said, this is a get the pus out phone call. And she says the same thing to me, just so
I
I know
like that.
also what's coming, right? And what she
Yeah.
needs from me. Uh, and then we talked about that, like you said, when somebody comes at you with energy, we just talked about that, and we said we were laughing, we were dying. That's just us. We're just like, we should just send the GIF with, like, how in the horror movies when you have the elevator and you're like pushing the button like super hard, just close the doors. Yeah, we're just like, next time to that kind of person, we'll just send that GIF, like closing the door
Yeah.
on the elevator. I'm out.
I'm out.
So,
Yeah. I like it.
yeah, but it
It-
helps us get the energy quick back and put us in a state of good flow and happy energy, and that's power where we want to be in.
the true power is recognizing that your power is only always yours.
Yeah.
Whatever you're experiencing is always coming from you.
Yeah.
And I think there are people that can have an effect, right? That's there's no doubt of that. But
No.
what you do with that is up to you still. So your power still lies within you, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where real strength comes from, is when you recognize that you've already got it in you to do that. And we've been given
That's when
our
it gets
power to
fun.
so many other people, right? Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets
Say more about
fun.
that. Yeah.
Like I know I have the power to create my surroundings, or the power. Like I have an interesting family, so I can walk in my life and I feel pretty good about myself and how I carry myself, and then I'll get on the phone with someone, and then I'm not that person that I like being. Like, I hate
Even
it,
now
right?
you're like,
Yeah, it's just
yeah.
and I mean, it's Christmas time is coming up, so obviously I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to stand my ground with boundaries, and it's gonna be rough. Like, I know that.
Yeah.
But you come to a point where just like, I am sick of this. Like I and that's the fun part, when you start like navigating on like, I'm doing good in my life. Like I figured this out, but like this part I haven't figured out, like, how do I communicate with with this person, or not, or for myself, so I can continue to be the person that I like being, even if that person does whatever it is that they do or say to me or around me, or whatever. And I think that, like, as we can see the journey, like you talk about the journeys, right? When that can be exciting, even in hardship, to try and figure out like how we can be the best in that, like,
Yeah.
then it's so much more fun.
I love it. If you were to give a final message, to our viewer, the one on the other side of the screen, and we've got quite a few engaging today, but speak to one, as though you and they are talking, what would you want to instill with them as we wrap up this call? What would be one thing you'd want them to know?
I want you to know, like I said in the beginning, that you matter no matter what. And when you can find that foundation in yourself, that you are amazing, that you are powerful in yourself, I have that hashtag, that's mine. It's pick up your crown, right? And that's how I see it every day when I get out of bed. Just pick up that crown. You just put it on, live your life with intention, and go to bed with gratitude. If you can find that mixture in your life where you wake up, you put that crown on, you live your life with your intention, and you go to bed with gratitude, I think you can change your life, in more ways than you could ever imagine, just by those simple steps.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah. Ryan, final thought there?
I'm just grateful. Yeah, I'm grateful that we have friends of friends that are willing to come on our show and share their message with us. Because Natalie, it's been a pleasure to meet you through here, and I can't wait to get to know you more. And if there's ever anything that we can do in the future, we'd love to do it. With sharing that message with people to help them believe it in themselves. I think that's kind of the kicker there, is to see it in yourself. Once somebody can see that for themselves, like then you watch them, and it is amazing to see the transformation that occurs. But until then, until they do see that, there'll be people like you and us and all the other people, the Tony Robbins, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that are going to see it in them and do their darndest to make sure that they can find that hope and that belief. And so thank you for doing that for people in the world.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Yeah, you're very welcome. You guys are amazing. I love the interaction that we get every week from our viewers as well. And Natalie, thank you for sharing your journey with our viewers. I mean, our vision is to show people they are already giant. And so you just need to express it, right? And sometimes you got to express what's getting in the way of you expressing the giant, which is all the stuff that feels like crap, the pus, right?
Right. And I'm
Express that.
5'2". I'm 5'2", and it's astounding.
I thought you were 6 feet tall, but
I
Yeah,
know.
right?
I get that
Yeah.
all the time. I was just talking to one of my clients, and he's like, I can't believe this. I totally from picture, I thought you were like
Yeah.
6 feet something. I'm
Yeah.
like, he's like, you still seem taller than 5'2" though.
Well, you're
So,
definitely a giant, you know, and so thank you for sharing your wisdom. And I hope for those that are watching that you heard something today that inspires you to go do a bit more, you know. Yeah, like you say, Andrea, shine your light.
shine your light.
Thank you for being on with us. For those that are watching, share this video with those that you love. Go see more about Nathalie at natalieherrey.com.
Or just find me on social media.
Or find her on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm the only one, so I'm easy to find.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
So thanks for being a part of this. We love you. Go make it a giant day, and we will see you in the next video.
Love you too.
And I got to find the video.